The threat of Kessler Syndrome, talking dogs, and robots on Mars. They're not all a threat, but we're going to talk about them in today's lightning round video. So I've been getting some comments lately and messages on social media and stuff asking why I'm doing so many lightning round videos lately. And it turns out some people really don't like them. And that's all right. You don't have to like everything that I do. It's not for everybody, but the people who like it tend to like the sort of community aspect of it. But what I will say is I'm actually not doing more than I used to do. I'm still doing one a month. That's been the deal for most of this year. The difference is that I've cut down on the overall number of videos that I make each month. I used to do 5 a month. It went down to 2 for a while, and then 3. We're kind of back up to 4 at this point. So if it feels like I'm doing more lightning round videos, it's just the proportional thing. It's still only 1 a month. So watch it, don't watch it. Of course, I hope you watch it. If you're new here and you don't know what a lightning round video is, I know there's a lot of new people that have joined lately. These are not as well researched. These are not the deep dives that my videos usually are. It's questions that I take from people on Patreon and channel members who support at a certain level. That's one of the perks. They get to ask questions, and I answer them in lightning round videos. And I'm kind of just learning all this right along with you guys. This is kind of the deal here. But we got several to get through. We've been getting a lot more questions lately, so let me dive right in. All right, Donna Sawyer, friend of the channel, said, earlier today, debris from a telecommunications satellite that mysteriously exploded entered geosynchronous orbit. How close are we to losing our communication systems to this shenanigans? First of all, I think it's these shenanigans. So yeah, I've covered space debris before. There are definitely people working on it. There's Privateer Space run by Moribit Jah. I actually interviewed him on my Conversations podcast a while back. The question is, so it's definitely a problem. The question is it something worth like losing sleep over? And if you don't know what the Kessler Syndrome is, Donna obviously does, but anybody watching, Kessler Syndrome is the term that's been applied to the idea that, we have all these satellites in orbit. When they smash up, it creates hundreds of pieces of debris. They're all flying at like supersonic speed, way past supersonic speed actually. And when they collide with each other, the possibility could be that it could just create this cloud of debris that destroys our satellite infrastructure and may even prevent us from ever being able to leave Earth. The movie Gravity illustrates this fairly well. But I've always felt like we need to put this into perspective. Yes, there's a lot of space debris and a lot of satellites up there right now, but it's also a big, vast area to cover. So let me look at it like this. All right, so according to the UCS satellite database, they have 7,560 satellites currently orbiting Earth. Although I've seen that number as high as 11,300 in other places. And by the way, this was from May of 2023. Obviously, there's been more, especially with Starlink satellites going up. Yeah, so according to this company, Pixelytics, they have it down here as, 11,330 satellites. They show 15,000, almost 16,000 have been launched into space, but, a lot of those have fallen back into the atmosphere. And we also know that this is going to go up exponentially in the coming years because, Starlink wants to get up to 40,000 or so satellites, but they're not the only constellation that's, being made right now. Amazon has Kuiper. There's a few other satellite constellations that are being worked on, so we could be seeing the number get up into the close to 100,000 probably in the next decade, and that is a lot. But I look at it like this: I don't know how many cars are in Los Angeles. Actually, we can look at this. 6,000,600. Okay, that's way too many. Let's go with something smaller. What about I don't know, Scranton? Google AI doesn't have much info about how many cars are in Scranton. I don't know why I picked Scranton. Okay, average of 2 cars per household. Okay, so how many households are in Scranton? Oh, okay, 29,000, 2 per. So we're looking at 60,000, something like that. I'm just throwing numbers out. But I mean, let's just say we take all the cars in Scranton. Let's just say it's 75,000 cars in Scranton. That would still be far more than we have in satellites right now, probably close to what it might be in about 10 years or something like that. But let's say you took all the cars in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and you spread them out evenly across the United States. Let's pretend the entire United States is paved. And they could just drive in random directions. How long would it take before one of those collide with each other? It would take a long time. But now imagine that you have them spread out throughout the entire planet and traveling in random directions. It would be it's inconceivable how long it would take before one of them collided with another one. But then you have to expand that out even further into space, about 100 kilometers or so, maybe up to 1,000 kilometers and higher. And then you got like all these different levels, like 1,000 different levels of elevation and orbital paths that they could go down. The likelihood of them colliding is actually pretty low. But we're not just talking about satellites, we're also talking about space junk. So let's look at the numbers behind space junk real quick. Okay, looking at the trusty Wikipedia here, it says the count of large debris defined as 10 centimeters across or larger was 34,000 in 2019. So 34,000, I mean, we're still looking at like the same kind of situation. We're looking at 75,000 cars driving around the planet. 34 adds a little bit to it. We're looking at the 100,000 mark right now, but still manageable, I feel like. Oh, it actually says 37,000 by June 2023. Okay, so we're a little bit more than that. If you go down in size between sizes between 1 and 10 centimeters, there's 900,000 pieces. So now we're in million territory for all of it together, satellites and junk together. So about 1 million cars. So again, like imagine 1 million cars spread across the United States or spread across the entire world. Would that still be a problem, especially when you consider all the different layers of orbits and stuff? I think it's still manageable. Could be better, but it could still be manageable. Let's keep going. Okay, but if you look at pieces of debris that are smaller than 1 centimeter, you're looking at 128 million. Okay, that's a lot. So, things to keep in mind, we're talking about pieces smaller than 1 centimeter. So they carry a lot of velocity and a lot of energy. They can do damage, but we're not talking about things that are going to blow up a satellite if it hits it. It might pop a hole into it, micrometeorite kind of thing. So the 128 million pieces, obviously that's a scary number, but they're not pieces that are going to just like destroy infrastructure necessarily, unless it's a whole cloud of them, which there are some, but they're being tracked and being kept aware of. Also important to know that a lot of that is in like really low Earth orbit, and it's going to come down at some point. Now there's also way too many of it that's up in like geostationary orbit, which is what Donna was referring to here. That's not going to come down anytime soon, if ever. So those are really the ones that they're most worried about, are those high orbits where the stuff's just like not going to come down for thousands of years. The stuff that's in low Earth orbits, which let's be fair, that's what Starlink is. It's going to stay in low Earth orbit. That's going to come down, catch a little bit of atmosphere, and burn up eventually. So again, not something to stay up late at night, unable to sleep, worried about. There are people dealing with it, but we could do a lot better. Let's put it that way. All right, thank you for that question, Donna. Let's move on to the next one. Robin Colburn asked, I've seen YouTube videos of dogs pushing on large buttons to speak with words like play and outside, but also words like now and sad. My fingers are getting sore. Wouldn't they struggle with abstract concepts as those? Since dogs can't read or see color, how do they locate the correct button if it's been moved? This seems challenging to train authentically. What are your thoughts? So I did a video, gosh, was it even a year ago, about animal intelligence? And I talked about that specific thing, the talk pads that they give dogs. I didn't go super deep into that, but I did talk about it. I think it's kind of fascinating to watch. I'll get into my criticisms here in a second, but I think that dogs are just super intuitive. Like, most of their communication is nonverbal outside of growls and barks and whatnot. They mostly are like looking at each other and reading body language. And, you know, like the dogs always know when I'm going to take them to go play at daycare, long before I ever say anything about it, just by the clothes that I'm putting on and the shoes that I'm putting on and the fact that I'm like, you know, just making certain movements. They pick up on it. They're super intuitive. I always tell the story about my previous dog, Jake, the Pitty, who got into the habit of limping whenever he wanted attention, because he figured out one time he legitimately hurt his leg, and every time he limped, we would all go to him and say, oh, you poor baby, and we would love on him and dote on him and stuff. And he figured out that if he faked a limp, that we would pay extra attention to him. And I think a big part of it is that, like, if the dog presses a certain combination of buttons, the human reads it a certain way and reacts like, oh, he just said he's happy, yay! And then the dog's like, oh, that's a good thing to do, because look at the look on her face, she's so happy when I do that. And I don't know how they're, you know, rewarding or treating these dogs for making certain combinations of sounds and whatnot. So it's kind of hard to say objectively. I do want to correct you, though. You say that they can't read or see color. I doubt that they can read, but they do see color. They just see a very muted number of colors compared to what we see. But they do see color. I just want to make that clear. But I do feel like there's a bit of anthropomorphizing and projection that goes on here. I did want to pull up one of the clips that they had done. Okay, so one of the more famous or more viral examples of these dogs using the pads is this dog called Bunny. It's a channel called What About Bunny? But this is just an example of how these guys do this. So I'll just kind of like react here.
She asks for help, then walks to the door. Seems pretty clear to me, so I let her outside.
Okay, so the dog clicked on outside, and she went and let the dog outside. See, I think that could be a thing, because my dogs, anyway, they know what the word outside means. They know what go potty means. And if there was a button that they could press that would make that same sound, I think they might be smart enough to figure that out.
Do you want play? Want play ball with mom, maybe?
Okay, you saw the way she tilted her head there when she heard the word ball, so I think that's an indicator that she's curious about that word, at the very least, but probably knows what it means.
C. Stretches. Ball. Here. Here. Here.
See ball here?
I want to react to a couple of things real quick. First of all, the way this lady is like talking to a dog, like I want to make fun of her, except that's 90% of how I talk to my dogs, so. But that right there, I'm sorry, that is word salad, or maybe button salad.
C. Stretches. Ball.
See scritches,
here.
ball.
Here. Here.
Here, here.
See ball here?
So like my general feeling when I look at this is that it feels like a magic 8-ball. You know, like she's kind of reading into what the dog is doing a lot more than what the dog is actually doing. Like the dog could press random buttons and she'd be like, oh, he means this. Well, maybe he just walked across the board, you know? That's the cynical part of me. I'll put it this way. I think that dogs are smart enough to know words, what they, generally mean to the dog anyway. And they probably are smart enough to know that if you press that button, it makes the same sound that she makes when she grabs the ball. I think they are smart enough to figure that out. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think that there is a little bit of communication going on, but I would say maybe 60 to 80% of what is being interpreted here is the magic 8-ball thing. That's my take on it. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to make perfectly clear. If I could have some kind of communications device that would allow me to just have a conversation with Zoe, that would be the most amazing thing in the world. I would love that. I want that more than anything. I don't think that's what's going on here. Just my opinion. All right, that's my feeling anyway. Let's move on to the next one. Rate Zero Humor Singer asked, why do we use infix mathematical notation in everyday life when postfix notation is so superior? Seriously, as a RPN HP48 fan, I can't wrap my head around why we stick with 4 plus 4 when 4 4 plus saves so many problems. No online arguments about order of operations questions. Oh, dude, totally. RPN HP48. That's an absolute mystery. I have no clue what you're talking about. Once again, I get a question about math, or maths if you're from England. So postfix notation, I guess that's. I could look at. You know what? Maths. We got to talk about the maths thing, England. So I get that math is short for mathematics, and that's a plural. There's multiple types of mathematics. So British people like to say maths instead of math because there's multiple mathematics. I get that. Here's the problem. If you're going to make math a plural word by adding an S to the end of it, you need to treat it like a plural word. Like there's a thumbnail. There's a channel here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, let me show you this. Yeah, this thumbnail right here makes me want to declare war against T. Actually, it's up here. What happens when maths goes wrong? When maths goes wrong? How about when English goes wrong? That is no. And like, again, look, if you want to use it as a plural, I get the justification behind it, but you got to use it as a plural word and not like use it as a plural singular word and then mess up all of hundreds of years of grammatical structure so that you can, it's wrong. It's wrong. Anyway, that's how I feel about postfix notation. Next question. Fishtail asked, why is making music yourself so tightly linked to one's emotional well-being? It's actually interesting that you asked this because there's a video going around on Instagram, pretty kind of viral video right now from The Late Show with Stephen Colbert with Dr. Francis Collins, who is a neuroscientist, and he talks about how music actually creates endorphins, sort of like natural opioids in your body. Actually, I could just share the clip real quick.
And that one of the best ways to get endorphins is through exercise. What are the other ways that we ourselves produce our own endorphins?
Well, one that we're studying intensively now is music. When you listen to a piece of music that really moves you, whoa. It gives you a chill. It causes you to suddenly feel transported. You just dumped a whole bunch of dopamine in your ventral striatum. And wow.
I knew what was happening.
So, exactly. I've done a couple of videos talking about music and why it kind of hacks our brain, helps us to learn things better, hacks our emotions, which is a really interesting thing. So now he's talking about listening to music. Performing music, though, I imagine it has to create similar dopamine rush to create the music as well. And it's funny because I did a little bit of just Googling here to try to see if I could find an article that talked about playing music, releasing it, and it all kind of went back to playing. When I say playing music, I guess they mean like playing out of a recorder or something. So, but I do think that that's what's going on. I think some dopamine gets produced when you're playing a nice piece of music, especially if you're good enough to where you can just kind of like play and flow. There's a flow state thing there. That's always nice. And I think there's a bit of a gamification quality of playing music, especially when you're learning something, you're figuring out how to play something. You fail and you fail and you screw up and you screw up and you get one note further and you screw up and you get one note further the next time and screw up, and you like just figure out this thing, and there is a little bit of a satisfaction to that, just like there is in gaming. It's like figuring that thing out. And I think also just music, it's been shown is one of the best things to help like stave off things like dementia and old age, old brain stuff, because it's just always, it causes you to form new connections. It's just like constantly reworking and you're learning, and there's like connecting with your hands and your body, and dancing I think is the same way. So I think it's a combination of those things. I think music does just kind of naturally produce dopamine. There's a gamification thing, that satisfaction of learning something, but also just kind of like keeping your brain active and rewiring. It's good for mental alertness and just feeling better in general. I like that subject. Thank you for that question. JD Creeper asked, could we send advanced AI robots to Mars and have them terraform the planet for us? They would solve most problems on their own, and then we only send humans there once the planet is Earth-like enough. So, honestly, I think that's exactly how it would need to happen. Terraforming is a big subject and a big project, so to speak. But let's not even go to terraforming. Even just going there and creating structures for people to live in, I think it would make more sense to send robots ahead of time to build those structures than to have people go there and living out of like these cramped, landers while they're doing that. I mean, just creating shelters and infrastructure for a small population to be able to live there, much less, terraforming the entire planet. I think even that would require robots to go there first and take care of it. And really, I think as fast as AI and robotics are moving forward, I think those will probably, by the time we get to where we're regularly traveling to Mars and really thinking about like living there, colonizing there, I think that the advanced robotics are going to be far enough ahead that that's just going to make the most sense to have them go there first and kind of set things up for us. And I think we might find, as we move forward into the future, these meat sacks, they're not good for traveling through the solar system. We might find that going there with advanced robotics, maybe even with a humanoid-esque robot that could be controlled by a remote astronaut, like that might be the better way to go. Robots don't need food, they don't poop, they just suck in electricity. You could have robots that clean the robots to get all the pesky dust and stuff off of it. You could have all kinds of extra parts that the robots could replace on themselves should it get worn down. The Curiosity rover, its wheels right now are really kind of coming apart because it's been up there for so long. What if it had a stash of extra wheels and a robot that could go and put those wheels on? I don't think these are out of the realm of possibility. So you're asking, could we do it? I think that's exactly how it's going to go down. Okay, we got one more question, but before that, we got to call out the Patreon and members who have joined recently. And guys, there's been a whole bunch of people. I can explain this a little bit. When we do live streams for the Patreon people, we do 2 of them a month. And there's been this wave of gift giving. I guess very generous people in the community who have been gifting memberships, and I think that's what a lot of these are. So there's a whole bunch of them. bear with me. Zoe's arm's going to get really tired at blessing all of these people, but let's start blessing people. And keep in mind, there's a lot more that I'm leaving for our next one. So if you're not on here, I apologize. But here we go. From Patreon, we have Desfensters, Flufferoni, Marissa Kristen, Brendan Lebrec, Rick Pacetto, Alan Bloom, Matt Ware, Taylor Kennefic, Steph Proctor, Christoph Baranowski, Snowy Snake, Michelle Bratcher, Sterling Fulton, Foley Finn, and Meg Delaney. And YouTube members, here we go. We got Do, Dat Brew, and Stupid Bliss, Colton Mass, oh hello Mass, Christina E, Al Brown, Shy Kifki, sure, Llama, Jenna Cortlet, Julie C, MacGyver Girl 87, Lumi Navi, Matthew Ryan, Chad Paquette, Cody Aragon, Sean Jones, Shubham Dada, Megan Aventine, Victoria Fleming, The Shadow, Jason the Isopod, Carter Not Steve, Caitlin Meisner, Eric J. Price, Dylan Daniel, Zach Ernie, Tanika Minjas, Old Man Spooky, Gwen Speak, So Steph, Desert Heathen, Chainsaw Canuck, Brumbe Bernard, Banana Anachronism, Porter Wiseman, Sherisamy, Eastland, R Guy 60, Ernie T, Blissful, Emily Emmons, Spencer G, Caitlin Kuntz, Banished Lord, Monica Garner, G Mason, Eric Call, Amber Cook, and Zombie Girl. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you would like to join them and get access to videos early, exclusive live streams, be on a Discord server, be part of an awesome community, and get your name read and blessed by Zoe, you can just hit the join button down below or go to patreon.com/AnswersWithJoe. Hyperventilating now. All right, last question is from Mark Geither. In this day and age, how do we as Homo sapiens continue to wage war and have an unquenchable thirst for murder and revenge? For peace? At what cost? Okay, so there's actually a fantastic answer that was provided to me to this question on the That's Absurd, Please Elaborate podcast featuring my friends Trace Dominguez and Julian Huguet. So if you're not listening to that podcast, absolutely you should. It's a very fun podcast where they take an absurd question and then break it down scientifically as much as possible. It's a lot of fun. I went on there back in June. And the question that I came in with, all the guests come in with their own questions. I had a few of them, and the one that they picked was, what would technology look like if there was no war? My thesis of sorts is that as horrible as war is, and it is horrible, that it kind of forces us to progress technologically. It's very important to find newer, better ways of killing people, or surviving the people trying to kill me. And I've always said that the space race is sort of analogous to war. It's like putting people in the crucible of a very difficult situation and forcing us to innovate because of that. So that's always kind of been my take on it. In fact, I've always kind of made, there's a possible argument that that's why our species won out over other hominid species, is that we're the violent ones and we're the warlike ones, and that caused us to innovate and, progress. So I came in to the podcast with that question. And Julian had a fantastic answer. He's the one that kind of researched it. And I will just point you to this. Obviously, it's the best way to get this answer. But the long and short of it is basically that, yes, you could point to war as being something that caused us to innovate. But there's also plenty of innovations that happened in peacetime. And in fact, there's an argument to be made that war eats up lives and resources to the point that it is detrimental to innovation. The argument can be made that it's as detrimental to innovation as it is creating innovation. Just because it saps so many resources and it takes away so many lives. I mean, how many people died on the battlefield that could have created some, amazing invention later on, that kind of thing. But I think that we tend to overstate how evolved we are. It really, in the grand scheme of things, was not that long ago that we were throwing rocks and sticks at each other out of caves, wearing animal pelts. We really haven't evolved much past that. There's that saying that we're a tribal species trying to be a global species. We are still hardwired for that tribalism and for that us versus them mentality. And we haven't advanced past that point yet. I think we will someday. I think we're just going to have to someday. But that's an advancement that has not happened yet, and it's going to take probably on the order of tens of thousands of years, should we make it that long. And it's like, everybody's all stressed out right now with everything that's going on in our country and whatnot, and I understand it. But one of the things that I've been trying to focus on, just for my own mental health, is just focusing on my own community and the people around me, my own tribe, if you will. because I think that's a better use of that tribal instinct, is to, like, you know, help out those around us as opposed to hating those that aren't us, you know? So that would be my take on it. Like, we're just a tribal species and we're just wired that way, but I think we need to work on focusing that tribal energy in a positive way instead of a negative way. I think that's as profound as I can get on it. And I think, you know, just making ourselves smarter. I tend to think that education is the way out. I know I'm probably biased on this because of what I do, but I think in general, the more we understand the world, I think the better we can share it. And if only there was somebody trying to help people learn things. That's what I do. It's also what Brilliant does, and that's why they're sponsoring this video. Brilliant is the online learning platform where learning is an active thing. It's something you do by solving puzzles and little interactive games, basically using your problem-solving skills. And it teaches you everything from math, programming, scientific thinking, physics, and a really cool one, data analysis. But it's that problem-solving part of it that gets me the most. Like, I think that maybe the reason a lot of people struggle in school is because school is made for masses. You know, it can't adapt itself to every student. They've got to teach a certain way because that's the best way to teach a whole bunch of kids. Whereas Brilliant is more of a learn your own way approach. They just kind of tap into your problem-solving skills and guide you to the answer so that you learn it in a way that makes the most sense to you. And that's what makes it stick. And that's what makes it useful to you later on. And because it's an app, you can take it with you on your phone and just kind of, you know, squeeze in a lesson or two whenever you're waiting somewhere, just wherever you happen to be, instead of playing some game or whatever. Like, you can learn something. Just level up on the go. But yeah, they focused heavily on data analysis lately, and for good reason, because, like, we are just awash with information these days, good and bad. But if you don't know how to use it or make sense of it, it's all just noise. But with the data analysis course, you can learn data visualizations, regression models, algorithms, since they kind of run the world right now. It kind of feels like it's something important to know about. But yeah, the class gives you real-world data sets from sources like Airbnb and Spotify and Starbucks to help you spot trends and see what's next. It's really cool stuff. So give Brilliant a try, see how big your brain can get. You can try it for free for 30 days if you go to brilliant.org/answerswithjoe or just scan the old QR code on the screen here. You'll get 30 days for free, and if you decide to continue, you'll get 20% off the annual premium subscription. Brilliant's great. If you haven't checked it out, you need to get on that. Blow that brain up, son. Brilliant.org/answerswithjoe, or just click the link down below. Right, thank you guys so much for watching, and thanks to the answer files who submitted the questions. If you would like to join them, you can just go to patreon.com/answerswithjoe, or just click the join button down below, and you join at the, I believe, solar system level. That'll give you the ability to ask questions that I answer in lightning round videos, and you'll just join an awesome community of cool people who I really appreciate. And also the Discord. There's all kinds of perks. Just go check it out. Also, the Black Friday sale is over, but we are still taking pre-orders for the Book of Mysteries, which is being printed, I believe, as we speak. We got a link down below. Go check it out. If this is your first time here, lightning round videos aren't my normal thing. I do these once a month. If you would like to see a more normal video, maybe check this one out right here. Or just kind of look at whatever YouTube might be recommending. I invite you to go check it out, and if you enjoy it, I do invite you to subscribe. I come back with videos every Monday. All right, so that's it for now. You guys go out there, have an eye-opening rest of the week. Stay safe, and I'll see you next Monday. Love you guys. Take care.